If exports go down, right? Export mean what you have here and you give out. Why are you giving out less? Because people don't want it anymore, right? Let's say, for example, I sell 5 markers, right? But then people don't want as many markers anymore. So then I'm just going to sell 2 markers every day, right? Does that make sense? Less demand. Does that make sense? Exports go down. There's less demand. Any questions? You can think about it. Just you don't need to memorize it. Think about it. Don't ever memorize these stupid signs. Okay? If you want, you can even think about it like this. So you understand why corn goes up, right? Corn goes up because China and India want it, right? And because of that, there's more exports. Why are we exporting? Because we have to send the food to them, right? What about here? There's less soybeans because we don't need to send it to them, right? They don't demand as many soybeans, or that's what it says here. So the article says this part. Exports go down. So if they go down, that means that less people demand this, right? You can kind of just think about it. You'll get more used to it. Right. So that's pretty interesting. So that means that, and then let's look at wheat over here. Now let's talk about wheat, right? Sure.
Isn't there this year has flooded.
Right.
Flooding. Too much water.
Yeah, that
Because
could
of
be
weather, so corn didn't rise a lot.
Right, but the thing is,
so they can't do export a lot.
right.
So price
Right.
it means export down. Price is going up.
Okay, so just so you know, weather, don't confuse yourself, right? Weather is separate. So don't ever combine things. So you know what I'm saying? So think about everything separately, right? Don't ever make yourself confused. So what does weather do? Weather is pretty easy, right? If it's hot, you know, prices don't go up, right? Because they have less. If there's too much water, all the plants are going to die too. So price is also going to go up, right? That's very easy. You can understand that. So don't think about this anymore. This export stuff is separate. Think about everything separately. Do not ever combine. You drive yourself crazy. What's happening here? Exports. So the article says exports go up. So this is not right, but just think about this as, just pretend that exports means that you're selling stuff to somebody, right? So that means that you sell more, right? Export. You sell more. So if you sell more, what's going to happen to price? It's pretty much going to go up. Because if you sell more, that means more people want it, right? Sell more.
But
So
for one coins, the value decrease.
goes up.
Why? Too much, so they don't have value.
No. Check this out. Okay, check this out. Think about this, right? So, okay.
A lot of making clothing is cheap, but order-made products is expensive. I think like this system, no?
That's true, but you have to think agricultural stuff is different. Not really different, but just think about this for a while, right? Not even selling. Okay, let's just start here. Exports goes. So when you export more, okay, let's see. So what does it say over here? So export is more because of sales. Sales goes up, right? Does that make sense? Because you export more because more people want to buy it, right? This makes sense. Good. Cool. So we understand this part. Now, why does corn go up? So remember over here, right? Yeah, heat and the weather affect corn too, right? But exports also affects it. When you read articles about these companies, about these commodities, they'll usually talk about exports. So when exports go up, price is usually going up because exports means think about exports very quickly, right? Exports means you're basically shipping goods somewhere else. So if there's China, India there, right? I have corn. I'm giving them my corn, right? So this is U.S. China, India. Corn. Right? It's pretty simple, right? We give them our corn, right? Why? Because they have a bigger population than us, and they also eat like corn. Like we have like McDonald's and all this bullshit, right? But a lot of families here, right? They'll eat corn or like soybeans for dinner, right? Because that's just their lifestyle. Sometimes, like a lot of families, they just eat corn for dinner or as a dessert. Does that make sense? It's different than the U.S., right? Because usually we think of the U.S. as more developed or like, better country or whatever bullshit. Right? I don't want to get into politics, but it's like more expensive, better, higher living, right? And these countries are also very great, right? They're growing very fast, but a lot of people say that they're not here yet, right? That's just all background. What we're doing here, right? Just forget everything I said. U.S. is giving corn to these two countries. That's what export means, right? So if exports go up, that means we're giving them corn, giving them more corn, right? If we give them more corn, prices are going to go up because if you have a lot of people demanding it, think of Apple, right? It might not be a good example, but just think about it like that, right? If a lot of people, if people really need to buy Apple products, right? Apple can charge whatever they want. Does that make sense? The easier way to think about this is not even Apple. It's like, like a video game, right? Like PS3. Do you know what PS3 is? PlayStation? Okay. So, like PlayStation or whatever, right? Or Xbox, right? So these are all gaming systems, right? When these gaming systems come out, they charge like $2,000, and people will buy it. Why do they buy it? They don't care what the price is, right? So if a lot of people demand it very soon, they'll charge a higher price, right? That's the same. If a lot of people, a lot of demand, higher price, right? Just like with video games. Video games is very easy to understand because not only PS3, just like, so imagine, right? A lot of people wanted to take the PYD class, right? If so many people want to take PYD class, it's world popular, we can just charge anything. We can charge like $1,000 per class, right? Because so many people want to take it, we can charge whatever they want. They don't care. They're willing to pay the money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, right here. So now, what does this article say? Exports are going down, right? So when exports are going down, that means that the U.S. gives less corn. But in this case, we use soybeans. So they give less soybeans, right? Why are we giving less soybeans? Because there's less demand. Does that make sense? So there's lower exports because we don't need to, let's go back to this example. PlayStation 3, right? So if we look at the PlayStation 3, right? Xbox, whatever. Okay. These video games, right? In the beginning, they're worth a lot of money, right? But the price keeps going down. Why? Because Sony, right, comes out with PlayStation 4, right? Right? So when the new one comes out, people don't want this anymore, right? So that means this has less demand, lower price. Make sense?
Yes.
That definitely makes sense. Okay, perfect. So you got these two down, right? So now that you understand this, it doesn't matter what happens to wheat. So let's say wheat. So it says here that exports are increased, right? That means go up due to strong sales, right? Shipments and stuff. That means there's high demand, right? If there's good sales, that means there's high demand. So wheat goes up, right? The same thing as corn. So what does this tell you? So UG's RJA, that's the name of his like ETF, right? His ETF has all three of these things inside. Corn, soybeans, and wheat, right? So this is what's happening. So this is why this is pretty decent diversification. Because if corn and wheat go up and stuff like this, right? But soybeans moves in the opposite direction, then that means he loses, he gains money, but not as much. You get what I mean, right? This goes down, then blah, blah, blah. They're opposite. So that's why it's diversified. So because it's diversified, that's why he's not making that much money. So he might want to be more aggressive sometimes. Does that make sense? Cool. So what do you learn about here? Exports is usually mentioned for commodities, right? Anything except gold, because you don't export gold. Right? Nobody export a lot of money. But you export almost everything else, right? Wood, and then there's many different types of wood. Cotton, right? Silk, right? There's 10,000 different things. That's all what happens, right? And it follows that same concept. More demand, higher price. Just like PlayStation. Less demand, lower price, right? Makes sense. Okie dokes. So now you have a better sense of seeking alpha articles. I don't know if you really want to do this, but you can or not. For homework, I won't even. This is the last class, but I'll continue this, so you can keep seeing me if you want. Or you can take Laura's class again and do whatever you want, or take your own tax class.
She's not gonna be here next month.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, take a break.
I'm in Japan.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. It's not a big deal. So
But
yeah.
I will come back in 1 month.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so, if you guys want to do this for fun, this is basically the conclusion of the stock game. What Leo wanted you to do was to just buy a lot of stocks in the beginning, or buy stuff and see it go up. But then you don't really understand, you don't learn about different industries, right? So then after that game, you didn't really help yourself. You understand that? So even if you don't become a great investor, you'll start understanding basic terms. I will guarantee that if you take Laura's class and then you try to apply this a little bit, you'll have a good understanding of basic finance. And once you start reading more articles, that's more than enough for you to survive. Then you can focus on your career, do whatever. Same thing for marketing, right? So even though I was on the banking side for a while, right? I use marketing sometimes because I have to create presentations, right? And that's not as easy as you think it is, right? It's not just, oh, I'm going to market to this investor or whatever. People have different preferences. So basically, I learned a little bit of marketing. I took some introduction classes, and then I applied it. I learned some stuff from my jobs. I got better at it, and that's all I have to do. I don't have to get really advanced into it, because that's not my field, right? But the thing I would say in general, usually a little bit of presentation skills, and maybe background finance if you're doing business analysts or whatever job in the future. This is good background because